Welcome, you're on The Fringe Show. I'm your host, Tatiana Zalan, and I go live every Friday at 2 p.m. Dubai time. The Fringe helps you to navigate the rapidly changing world and increase the odds of your success. Here we discuss technology, startups, entrepreneurs, and mental models of successful people so that you too can take advantage of the opportunities in the new digital world. Today, it's my 40th show, and I decided to dedicate it to social media giants, to web2, and their forays into web3. They've been trying to incorporate web3 elements into their platforms for quite some time now, introducing NFTs, cryptocurrencies, then, of course, digital currencies, virtual goods, and tokens. Twitter, Reddit, YouTube, and of course Meta, they're all having a go at that. And my focus is primarily here on Meta because it seems to have been more advanced in its efforts to become a sort of a Web3 company. So the question that I'm posing today, well, where are they at? Are they succeeding? And what does it mean for you as a creator? So if you're a creator here in this space, I think it's probably a very good show for you to understand the space, to understand what the current opportunities are. Now, just before we go any further, a traditional disclaimer, it's not financial or investment advice. All I'm doing on The Fringe Show is for informational and educational purposes only. Just a very quick recap, what is it that we understand by Web3? And our understanding of Web3 is always evolving, with new elements are being added, new understanding of it. In its simplest form, Web3 is simply an internet mutually owned by builders and users. It's coordinated by tokens and incentive structures. The foundational elements for this Web3 are peer-to-peer networks, and they're built on top of trustless transactions. Web3 tools consist of everything from DeFi to self-sovereign identity to decentralized governance to NFTs, of course, as an asset class. And it's the foundational building blocks of Web3 that allow us for a shared economic system in the open metaverse. And I underscore this, it's open metaverse, it's not closed metaverse. There is a big difference between the two. And these two concepts, Web3 and open metaverse, are now seen to be converging. And it's very difficult even to distinguish whether people are indeed talking about Web3 or are they really mean open metaverse. But just to remind ourselves that Web3's foundation is really based on true digital property rights and ownership as well. So let's have a look at these social media giants. What are they doing? Twitter is in it, Reddit is in it. What are they doing there? Well, they're all looking to implement cryptocurrencies and NFTs into their platform. Early this year, Twitter began allowing its subscribers to Twitter Blue, which is a paid premium service, to showcase the NFTs that they own as verified profile pictures. So this feature draws immense attention from all crypto users, and I'm sure if you're a crypto user, you noticed particularly in the crypto space, you would have noticed that a lot, and that's due to the rising popularity of projects like Bored Apes Yacht Club. By the way, you may want to check out an episode that I did on Bored Apes. It's definitely very interesting company. Reddit is another social media giant, and they're now trying to implement NFT avatars from their own avatar collection. And apart from that, they're also trying to hire a lot of engineers, a lot of managers to build, as they say, the largest creator economy on the internet, which is powered by independent creators, by digital goods and NFTs. They already have a really big community, very active community as well. And now they're trying to add an NFT marketplace to this community from their own collections. YouTube is also interested in doing something in this space, and its CEO Susan Wojcicki recently said that NFTs could be another form of revenue for creators, and YouTube is probably very well positioned to be one of the first marketplaces to focus both on videos or rather on videos on as a form of digital collectibles. They're making all the right noises. The CEO is saying that the web3 was a source of inspiration for them, and NFTs and particularly decentralized autonomous organizations have this unimaginable opportunity to grow the connection between creators and their fans. The chief product officer is also very optimistic, saying that NFTs will allow creators to make money in ways that's not previously possible. I actually agree with that. We believe that they say that new technologies like blockchain and NFTs can allow creators to build deeper relationships with their fans. Possibly, that who would deny that? And for example, there will be a verifiable way for fans to own unique videos, maybe photos or art, and even experiences from their favorite creators. So fans will benefit, but also creators will benefit. And just last May on YouTube, they sold one of the most viral videos of all time, which is called Charlie Bit My Finger, and that sold for $750,000. So quite significant amount. That was minted on Origin Protocol, and after being auctioned as an NFT, the original video was deleted from the YouTube channels, and that's because you obviously want to maintain uniqueness and originality and provenance, so you don't need a copy of that. The NFT is what gives this product value. It is not very clear, though, how this transfer of ownership rights will happen, and that's because NFTs do not inherently transfer copyright over to new owners, and so it's not clear how YouTube is going to achieve this. By the way, again, I do have a show which is completely dedicated to the legal aspects and particularly ownership aspects of digital assets such as NFTs on the internet. It's very, very gray area so far right now. And now, of course, we're coming to Meta and Facebook's pivot to Meta. So why did Facebook decide to pivot to Meta? One of the reasons is really financial. If you look at Meta's performance or Facebook's performance in recent years and recent quarters, it's not been very flash. And just recently, there's been a Q1 report published on their performance. Meta reported a 21% drop in profits for the first quarter of this year. Last year, they made $9.5 billion over the same time period. Now, in this quarter, it's 7.5. So that's 20% drop. And income itself, operating income, plummeted by 28%, so almost 30%. It's very clear that Meta, for Meta, it's Web3 and the elements of Web3 and the pivot to metaverse is kind of a save the company approach. Meta Financial Technologies, which is Facebook's financial arm, has been exploring the creation of virtual currencies for the metaverse. It's very similar to in-app token in Roblox, and it's very commonly internally referred as Zugbucks. They're also looking at creating social tokens or reputation tokens as rewards for meaningful contributions to Facebook groups. And they're also looking at creator coins associated with influencers on Instagram. They plan to launch NFTs on Instagram probably quite soon. They're posting NFTs will be possible on Facebook as well. They're talking about mid-May, sorry. Also, let's see when it happens. To me, Meta is a really interesting case. It's almost like 3 times lucky, or maybe even 4 times lucky, because they started with Libra, that didn't really work out, and then Diem, that didn't work out. By the way, I do have a show on that too. a metaverse now and NFTs, so probably 4 times lucky. So why NFTs? Why does everyone want to be part of this game? Deutsche Bank has recently done a big study on the market opportunities for NFTs, and they say it's really huge. The total addressable market, they said, is something like $1 trillion, and that's led by categories such as art, collectibles, and of course gaming. The NFT marketplace itself is in hyper-growth mode. It's generating now around 25 billion in transaction volumes, and that was last year. We hope that this year it will be even higher. And this last year's was an increase of 250 times from the previous year, what we saw in 2020. That's a tremendous growth. And of course, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg said that the company was working very hard on bringing NFTs to Instagram in the near term. What that exactly means, we don't know. Maybe it's May, maybe it's later. Meta is spending enormous amount of money on AI and VR research, and that's projected to top something like $10 billion. But analysts predict that they will spend overall something like $60 billion just to realize their vision of the metaverse. The Financial Times also reported that the company was hoping to integrate NFTs with their crypto wallet. They had their crypto wallet, Novi. Whether that will stay, we'll see. If you look at Instagram and OpenSea, and OpenSea is truly, you can say, web3 company with over $13 billion in valuation. Well, the economics of Insta actually play out to be a lot better than OpenSea. And Instagram is supposed to have or will have 2.2 billion users by 2023. And if we base our assumptions on a very conservative case that say only 2% of all these users would embrace digital assets, that will create immediately an NFT user base of 44 million people on this social network alone. That's a big number, and is significantly higher than OpenSea, which has 1.4 million users. If we assume that each Instagram user will make something like 3 NFTs, and they may be selling this for $250, which is kind of an average price, that would result in trading volumes of over $33 billion for Instagram, and that's well ahead of OpenSea. They're now making $23 billion. But what it's not exactly clear is what minting an NFT on Instagram would mean. Could you sell a popular post as an NFT, perhaps, or maybe you can mint NFTs that act as passes to let people see specific stories, connect with specific creators. Meta isn't really saying that. They are very kind of not clear about it, but it does seem that minting capabilities won't be coming anytime soon. And the idea of the marketplace in itself seems to be even further off, because there are a bunch of technical things that need to be done, need to be worked out before that really could happen seamlessly. And of course, then Meta needs to take into account that it needs to integrate all these NFTs, all these collectibles and digital assets across its multiple platforms to be truly a metaverse, right? And for that to happen, they need to build the metaverse first. By the way, users are really critical of Instagram's experience in the NFT space. They're saying that the current NFT space at Instagram is horrible, their own words, full of bots and spams and scams, and no one is really taking Insta seriously for NFTs. Now, that's NFTs. What about other elements of Web3 that Meta is trying? And that's wallets and stable coins, Novi and Diem and Paxos. What happened to Diem is very interesting. That's a very recent development, only at the beginning of this year. The association behind Diem sold its assets for around 200 million to Silvergate, which is a crypto-focused bank. And it was working with this bank last year to launch a stablecoin which would be pegged to a US dollar. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and regulation was a key issue. The US Fed was a key opponent to Diem launching, and the final nail in the coffin was when the Fed said that they weren't really sure if they would allow the bank affiliated with the project to issue the stablecoin. And the then President Donald Trump, he reacted in his signature manner, very expressive manner. He was saying that if Facebook and other companies like that, other social media platforms, want to become a bank, then they need to seek a new banking charter and become subject to all these banking regulations, be them international banks or domestic banks. So there are still quite a few question marks in particular regarding crypto integration, because a true metaverse can't exist without combining crypto with big tech company inventions like VR and AR. Holders of the digital assets should be really careful when using Meta, and it seems like the responsibility will fall on the NFTs community shoulders to make sure that Meta behaves fairly and doesn't monopolize profits. Whether this is happening, we'll see a little bit later on. But one subscriber on Twitter responded to that statement by Meta and crypto in particular. It's not a real NFT unless it's built on an open composable protocol. Sellable Instagram photos on this Meta database are simply not just NFTs. They're not. Another key component for Web3 is true forms of self-sovereign identity. It's a cornerstone of this decentralized web and Web3 generally. And until you have an identity which is owned and controlled solely by the user rather than by the platform or some kind of corporate-owned universal login like Facebook, you would never really have a truly open metaverse. This self-sovereign identity technologies places the control of your digital identity into your hands alone. You alone will own it. And this is all within a decentralized, permissionless network. This is already happening. There are some projects, like, for example, Checked, that are working on self-sovereign identity, but I doubt that Facebook is doing that. Now that we understand what Facebook, what Meta, what Twitter, what Reddit are doing in the space, now let's move on to creators. What does it mean for creators? Should they be joining on the bandwagon? Should they be jumping on board? Now let's start with the understanding that all these social media companies, including LinkedIn, created recently what they call creative funds. So LinkedIn pledged 25 million. It's not much, but Instagram and Facebook will pay creators up to $1 billion by the end of 22. YouTube is setting up a fund, 100 million. That's quite significant. That's for shorts. And even Snapchat at some point in time was paying out $1 million per day for a while. I don't think they're doing it anymore. Some creators who were part of Instagram, who did create for Instagram, like, for example, Zula Rain, she was an Instagram creator. She's extremely critical of Insta and then extremely critical of what Meta is trying to achieve. These are her own words that very well, we know that very well, and I talked on the show about that too, that when a platform like Meta, like Instagram, they're trying to attract creators. They're really very nice to them at the beginning. They have very favorable terms, that they are trying to lure people on the platform. And then something happens, it's typically a pivot, the algorithm changes, and then we have rug pull, right? Creators cannot possibly do that all the time. And that's really has financial consequences. It's not just a drop in views, it's only a real dollar sign attached to all these pivots. The faucet will be turned off, and that will hurt creators. And she herself has given an example of what Instagram did in 2018 with IGTV. So they launched it as a wholly separate app. They tried to attract creators. Creators posted long form videos, got a ton of views at first. But if we fast forward to 2020, what happened with IGTV? The app is discontinued very quietly, and this button is nowhere to be found. Why? Obviously, nobody was using it. And so this is what she's saying. I expect creators who sell virtual goods on Facebook or Facebook's metaverse will experience a surge in income and reach. Then I expect Facebook will focus on whatever the next trend is that they don't fully understand. And then they'll pivot, leaving creators behind in the dust again. All this to say, I'm not confident of Facebook's Meta's future. Given its previous track record, I would not feel comfortable building my financial future on that platform. They lie about the metrics, they change direction with no warning, and they alienate their existing creator user base. So as you can see, she's quite critical of what's happening. And now that's really the core of the issue. What are the incentive structures? Because incentives, this is what's driving Web3 and really the creative economy, the passion economy, if you will. Yes, as I said before, Meta is trying to create a fund, and that's 1 billion, and that they're going to pay out to creators in 2022. And that's very new. This only came about very recently, but these are the terms and conditions. When users purchase an item in Horizon Worlds, that's Meta's metaverse, Meta confirmed that they will take a 25% cut. And that's after any amount of hardware the hardware platform might take. And right now, their hardware platform is Meta's Oculus store, and that takes a 30% cut. So content creators, if you want to be on Meta, you will have to hand over 30% to the Oculus store, to the hardware platform, and then you need to see another 25% to what's left to Horizon Worlds. And that really leaves creators with just a half of their content's revenue before any applicable taxes. This announcement, when they announced it recently, caused an outrage from creators in the NFT community. And the NFT community pretty kind of closely knit, so they talk to each other, and they are accustomed to single-digit percentage that platforms take. If we look at the Epic Games, they charge 12%. Yes, it's not single-digit, but it's not much. And a lot of other platforms like OpenSea are charging in the very low teens. And I can't imagine this will be very motivating to creators, that type of incentive structure that Meta is going to offer. Now, let me just give a few parting thoughts now to summarize where we've been and what we've learned. So Web3 is mutually owned by builders and users. It's really a shared economic system. It's coordinated by tokens and incentive structures, and true digital property rights and self-sovereign identity is what gives Web3 substance and the most important tools here. From what I've just talked about, probably the only conclusion that we can make is that current social media platforms lack all these components. It's almost like a half-hearted venture into Web3. As a creator, should you join? I'm personally not holding my breath. I think that their structure, incentive structure, is not attractive at all, and they need to definitely sort out the issue of NFT ownership, property rights. There are already better alternatives. Some of them will be built in the most coming soon, and this is genuine Web3 space. So on that note, I will leave you with these thoughts. Should you join? Should you not join? As I said, I won't be holding my breath for that. Thank you for joining me on The Fringe Show, and I will see you next Friday at 2 p.m. Dubai time. Now time for some music.